Hi guys, this is my 3.3 JavaFX lab. Starting here in viewGameboard.java, I have updated the public void main argument to just include the launch args like the professor did. Below in the update header, I added basically a set text to fish remaining and guesses remaining from the game board label, basically variables. So the fish remaining and guesses remaining variables. And the message label, I also did a set text as well, just based on the different cases. Then below in the start function, I created a border plane called new border plane. It set its color to be white just for aesthetics because I noticed that the default was a slightly different color than the rest of the window. And then I created a very small grid plane called counter grid plane. I basically set the first three columns to hold the variables from the game border label. So fish remaining, guesses remaining, and message. Then after that, I set that counter grid plane to be the top of the border plane. So the border plane is going to be the root. It's going to hold. Now it's going to end up holding two grid planes. So the first one is just for these counting, like message variables. And then below, I create the grid plane, game grid plane. That's going to hold the 6x6 or the dimensions for the whole game board. And I set a V gap and an H gap of 10 between each, basically between the grid plane, just to space it out, because it was like the buttons were right on top of each other. So down here is the for loops that the professor gave us. The outer one basically just creates and increments a row integer based on the size of dimension variables from model game board. So it's getting the dimension variable from the other script and just basically running through and increasing the row variable. And then below is the nested loop, for loop that does the same thing but for the columns. And then down here it creates a button every single loop from the game board button script. And that's basically using the model game board and the controller variable, which is over here. That's just getting the controller game board script as well. So it uses those to basically set up if there is a fish at that row and column. And then there is a button.set on action. So that's basically just doing what happens if the button's clicked. So if the button, sorry, if the game is, I'm trying to figure it out here. Yeah, so basically if there's a guess, and there's a button.handle click, so that will jump to our gameboard button.java. And then I added a game grid pane. I added each button to game grid pane. So my grid pane over here, basically every loop, it's going to add a new button. So in the end, it should add, 36 buttons. So then down below that, so instead I saw the professor did the VBox and HBox, and he had set it so it would add, I think, a button based on the column and then based on the row. I thought this was easier just to do it, like just have one line of code for that. I think it works just the same. And then down here is basically setting the game grid pane after it's all created to be in the center of the border pane. So again, the border pane is the root, and it's just setting the game grid pane as the center. And then creates a new scene. let's see here, and then sets the stage for the scene there. Sets the title of the stage. I set it to be not resizable, and then shows this stage. So then if we move on to my game board label script here. So I wasn't sure too much of what I should add to the labels. I added the padding of basically just set padding and then use the uh, insets basically variable up here. And then I also set the color and I imported paint.color over here, scene.paint.color, just so the text would always be black, and then I could change it if I wanted to any color, but I just wanted to see what else I could do with the labels. And then here is my gameboard button script. I set a minimum width, preferred width, minimum height, and preferred height right here. And then the default text, which is the question mark. And then by default, all the buttons start with set disabled as false. And then I set the background color as well of each button to be kind of a darker gray, just for aesthetics. And then down here in the handle click method, I have basically set the text that we were supposed to, the little fish looking icon, and then the X. And then I also set the background color of each button. So after you click on it, if there was a fish, it's going to turn a light blue. And then if there wasn't a fish, if it was empty, it's going to turn like a reddish color. And then it's set disabled is true. So then you can't click it again. It won't change again afterwards or anything. So that's basically all my code. Let's run the main here. So here's my window. This is the coloring. That's the little gaps I wanted to add between each button. So if you click, that one had a fish. It's going to turn a light blue. And then here is one that doesn't have a fish. So this is the reddish color. And then changing the X. And then as you can see, the guesses decrease. So if I just keep going until I either lose or win. Yeah, so the fish one, that's displaying the message. I haven't actually managed to win, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know why it wouldn't, but it will display the you won message over here. And I almost got it that time, but I haven't bothered changing the guesses number yet to make sure. As far as performance goes, I think the only thing that I could see is changing this for loop up. I know that for loops, like especially something like this, could be probably optimized a little better. I think the dot dimension, calling it from model game board every time might be slower than setting it as a variable up at the top of I guess even, yeah, all the way up at the top of the class here. I think other than that, though, I'm not entirely sure how you'd create too much performance, especially for something so small here. I don't think you would notice a big difference. I did think that maybe it would be better to use something instead of doing two grid panes inside like a border pane if there was a different way, like a more effective. I know the professor had his style, and I thought maybe that is better, but I just wanted to see. I feel like I understand the grid panes more, so that's why I use them. And that's basically it for my code. Thank you.